Thank you so much, Division and Director, for that elevating introduction. Very generous, a lot of generous words used there, but there is one problem with such introductions. Do you know what? Yeah, I think I'm not going to try that today, unless you want. I will be the weekend very bad. But there's a problem with, I said, I think you hear me, there's a problem with such introductions, such generous, elevating introductions. It puts you straight away under big pressure of performance. Whether you're going to perform or you're going to fall flat. I don't know how I'm going to, but let's see. But Toastmasters and leaders, we always like to be under pressure, right? We give our best always under pressure. So you already, my dear friend Toastmaster Rami, Division Director, you already put me under pressure. Let me try to do some justice for all those words. But before I start, Division Director, past District Director, great friend, DTM, Dr. Suleiman, and wonderful leaders of Division M. Good morning.
Good morning.
I feel so impressed. I feel I'm so thrilled and excited to look at so many brilliant faces, so many enthused, encouraged faces on a Saturday. And I just looked at the agenda. It talks about roughly about 4.5 hours is going to be the training session. Among so many other wonderful sessions. First of all, I would appreciate the leaders for organizing this on a Saturday, a weekend of all of you. And I would appreciate each and every leader. It shows your dedication, commitment, and passion to learn. It's not, in Quebec, typically we have it on the weekdays. And the request comes, can we have it 2 hours? Can you manage it in 2 hours? Please make sure half an hour we have dinner time. And only on the weekdays. Weekends is for us. I think that it speaks a lot. So first of all, I want to give a big round of applause for your enthusiasm to come I'm just speaking my heart here. I'm not trying to impress your audience members because you may be wondering why I got on the stage. Honestly speaking, I didn't want to threaten you by getting on the stage, but I couldn't understand. I'm a short guy. You cannot see me if I'm walking around here. So I just want to make sure I connect with as many of you as possible. Okay? So, and I want to respect your time on this weekend. So I'm going to follow 2 things. I will try to complete within the allotted 45 minutes. Did I say try?
Yes.
I didn't promise. I said I try because Toastmasters.
You'll have to.
I'm sorry. I will somehow finish it within time. And secondly, I'm just going to keep this session. I'm not so good in presenting technically serious Toastmasters presentation, so I'm going to have a nice chat with you, an interesting chat with you, so that it will be a little bit light-hearted discussion on your weekend. Okay? So let's go ahead. I will zoom into it. Now, we are going to be talking about leadership and teamwork. Does it occur to your mind why these 2 topics together? Why your leaders and I, we discussed, and leadership is a separate topic, teamwork is a separate topic, about which we can discuss for days together separately. But we have combined these 2 things together. Okay. That's the reason why we have done what we are trying to do. I think, yes ma'am.
Maybe you cannot be a leader if you don't have teamwork.
Good response. I think that's a you're almost there, right? Excellent. And any more responses? Otherwise, because I want to manage the time, but we are going to have a lot of interactions, and I request you for interactions. Stop me. I may make a lot of mistakes. Correct me if you feel like I'm not doing the right job. But I think leadership and teamwork are so interrelated, so interlinked, so mutually dependent. Okay? I think one cannot exist without the other. For example, you cannot expect a great teamwork without a beautiful or a proper leadership, wonderful leadership. Like bringing all these people together today is possible. To bring in, the effect is going to be the teamwork, but the force behind it is leadership. Right? It is like, I would say, breathing to heartbeat, or heartbeat to breathe. They are mutually dependent. Now, if you are going to call breathing as the all-assertive, all-visible, powerful husband, the heartbeat is the all-powerful force behind the wife. They have to be so well synchronized. If they are not well synchronized, the breathing can be very bad if the heartbeat is not going to come. You understand? Okay? Leadership and teamwork are like husband and wife. Good husband and wife. Very well synchronized husband and wife. Otherwise, if they are not very well synchronized, we are going to be in trouble. Do you have a question about it? Do you have a second thought about it? They cannot exist. If teamwork is the beautiful effect that we see. The single most causal factor responsible for that effect, in my humble opinion, is leadership. Okay? Now, before we discuss a little bit of concepts, little bit of examples, little bit of stories about leadership and teamwork, which I'm going to share with you, I want to quickly share with you three short videos, very simple videos. It'll be very light-hearted, but we are going to have a nice discussion about those videos after that. I know it's a Saturday, that's why I brought this video. And don't worry, it's nothing complicated, science or toastmasters. It's about pedestrian crossing. Okay? I don't know, some of you watched on the WhatsApp. Let's watch it together. Let's see the pedestrian crossing.
안녕하세요. 기다려. 기다려. 초콜릿 초대박이다. 시험 왜 이렇게 길어? 안 바뀌어. 그래도 바뀔 시간이? 대박! 진짜? 어머! 가잖아! 대박인데 진짜? 웬일이야? 그러니까 아까 애가
Did you observe what he did? Yes. She or he did? Now let's go to the next one.
그것들 써봐. 갑자기 기회를 이 엔다고. Sie lachen, wenn grün ist. Oh, Lenz, das ist geil.
Wonderful. Now, okay, don't get too excited until we watch the third one. Very important. That's going to be the subject of discussion for our workshop. The first two also, the third one very important. Thank God, no one got very seriously hurt, hopefully, in the third video. But I'm going to invite your comments or observations on what is your opinion on, we watched three videos. Right? The first two belong to a particular category, the third one is a different category. Okay. Now, I want to give me your views about this. Yes? Very good. The first one, the first two, right? Which one is it? Please specify what you're going to talk about.
Hello?
Yeah.
Just to justify the last one for her,
Sorry?
there wasn't any pedestrian line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There was no
Yeah.
guideline. Okay, good.
So that's why maybe.
So you think that is the main reason why she did what she did? Okay.
What do you
Okay.
think about that?
Okay, good. Yes, madam.
I think the importance of following the rules.
Okay. Good. The importance of following the rules. What else? Anything? Quick, yeah.
Training, the training. Like
Training.
they were very-
Lack of training.
Yeah.
Madam.
Without having brains, you can still follow and you can still succeed.
Wonderful, wonderful. Excellent. Excellent. The discipline part you're talking about. Without brains. One more. I think somebody raised their hand. Yes, sir. I think we can talk without the mic and we can hear. No
The
problem.
voice is not loud enough, so I've seen the second video, which is the duck crossing.
The ducks
I've
crossing, yeah.
seen an analysis of that video, and it's kind of questionable.
It's questionable, you mean?
I mean, yeah, I mean, because it's more like graphics and stuff.
Oh,
It's not-
possibly. Okay, maybe it is a graphic,
But
but I.
it would be very interesting to see like animals doing so.
But
Maybe
what about the
observing
first
humans.
one? What about the first one?
Well,
The
I
first,
think- I
first
think
one, the cat was
animals-
following the traffic light, I thought, right?
Yeah, I think animals can somehow observe humans' behavior and imitate that. Like we see dogs and cats do that, domesticated dogs and cats. So it's very interesting to see
It's
that.
interesting, but I think that yes, last one, we'll have the last one in the interest of time, yeah. But I just want your general comments about, assuming all these three are true, okay, graphics and all that is a different issue, but assuming all these three things are real life recording incident, what is your comment on all this? Last response.
I think I would say that consistency, because when you're doing something consistently, if you look at the dirt, I think they have been crossing the road. It's not their first time.
Yeah.
For the lady, it could be maybe her first time. Sometimes you get on a highway, you don't know how to just go about it.
Okay. You believe that it could be the first time? Okay, I feel.
I'm assuming it could be her
Yes.
first time. Well, she's not doing it a lot of
Okay.
times, and those the cars and the dirt, they have been doing it consistently. So
Wonderful.
if you're doing something consistently, you actually
In fact,
get
really-
practice out of it. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. And if you have to, okay, I think we have to move on because there's a lot of things to be discussed. But I'm going to give you some more questions. Don't worry. I mean, if you have to describe the acts of the first two videos, what would you say? I mean, definitely very orderly, beautiful, admirable, right? Would you, yes, and total show of orderliness and a sense of social, good, responsible social behavior. Okay? I think, would any of you want to disagree with me on that? I don't think so. And second part, the last one, the third video, if we have to comment about this, the opposite of everything that we saw on this side. Disorderliness, absolutely, lack of empathy for a fellow human being. She was very safe. She just ran. I think she was a little bit experienced, man. I think in my opinion, I think she's too good for doing that. She made sure she's crossed very safely, and then she looked back and all have been hurt. Okay, thank God he didn't break his leg. Okay, I'm happy. Some selfishness. I'm just trying to be unmindful and catastrophic accident causing behavior. Okay, one is we have these two sets of animals who showed so much of responsibility, and we have this human being who didn't show any care at all. Now, the people who raised it. Now, what if you have to associate one causal factor? Okay, what would be the causal factor? We talked about leadership and teamwork, but if you have to associate one causal factor, it's a difficult question, but I want a smart answer. Yes?
Social responsibility.
Social responsibility, yes, very good. The sense of social responsibility, yes. But yes? Environment?
Yeah.
The care for the environment.
No, the environment that
The lady grew up under?
the cat can live in an environment that
Yeah, that's
they
right.
follow the road. But
Okay.
let's say cat here,
Wonderful.
they would not follow the
Okay, these are all these contextual factors under which it's happening. But if you have to see the root cause, what produces the beautiful behavior of these animals and the not so beautiful behavior of this human? What is, yes, environment, all these things are relevant, but if you have to associate the one thing which is relevant to this forum, yes? Yeah. Training, training. But what is responsible for training? Culture. Beautiful word. Culture is an amazing, you're almost there. Yes, culture. Culture, I want to just hold on to it. But what drives the right culture? Okay, rules are all, let's say the guidelines within a cultural environment. But what drives the right culture? I'm going to come to you. Yes, madam. Yeah, teamwork, great teamwork in the first, between all the three videos, yes. Culture and teamwork are the right, factors that are making those behaviors possible in the two different circumstances. But what drives the right culture? Let's say, I'm just jumping into this for the sake of time.
Is it the individual choice?
Like in the oil and gas
I
industry.
want to say organization.
Organization,
Yeah,
yes.
an organized community is gonna.
Every organization has a different culture, right? Or the type of organization is, oil and gas and petrochemicals, what is the culture?
Accuracy.
Number one is safety, sustainability,
Yes.
okay? And then everything else follows. If you are in a hospitality, a hotel industry, the culture is going to be driven from hospitality. Yes, Mr. Abdullah.
And I want to add also to that videos, role model, because there were a lot of
Role model.
someone in the front, modeling the role model.
Wonderful. But did you also notice in the cat video, the cat was very responsibly crossing on the other side. The lady walking from the other side was on a mobile phone. So, but, yes sir, last one.
There was no infrastructure on the third video showing that there is a.
Yeah, that is definitely, there is no infrastructure, as somebody else pointed out about the zebra line crossing. Infrastructure is one of the factors, but it is the only factor that is responsible for that. I think there are other factors also, but we talked about culture, teamwork, but what drives the right culture in oil and gas industry or whatever be the industry? It is leadership. I think it is leadership. Would you agree with me?
Yep.
I think when the cat, I think that the greatest challenge in leadership is to lead oneself, right? Do you agree? And I think this side, people, I mean, those animals led themselves very, very nicely, beautifully, than the person on this side. And ultimately, if you really see the factor, in my opinion, humble opinion, I think it's the leadership which drives the right culture, the right teamwork, the right expectations for us to see the beautiful effects ultimately. I think. And that's the heartbeat. Okay, the wife. Breathing is just the husband, the teamwork. And what good leadership leads to, in my opinion, I think it sets the norms for right individual behavior. And the collection of right individual behavior is going to set the norms for good team behavior. And good team behavior is going to lead to good societal behavior, country level behavior, nation level behavior, so on and so forth. But the source, the root cause, in my opinion, is leadership, right? And I think, again, reflecting back to the leadership adopted by the first two set of videos, the characters of the first two videos, and no leadership. Third videos, yes, there was no infrastructure, there was no training, there was no guideline, no zebra crossing, but chaos, absolute chaos. Again, absence of leadership there. I think that's what causes. And we all call this collectively as culture. And how do you do? Can we see the culture anywhere? I think we can feel the effects of the culture. Its culture is like a wind. You can feel the effects of the culture through the behavior standards, okay, through the expectation standards, how things are done there in a particular place, and how the systems are in place for you to induce the right behavior. I think these are all parts of a good culture managed society, organization, or an organization. And when you have a great culture, you can have a great team and a great teamwork. But ultimately, this culture, this part, is driven strongly by the leadership. So, same as the teamwork. Okay, we're all leaders sitting here. We're all wonderful leaders sitting here, and we're all going to manage many teams, right? You're not going to put up. We have division directors, area directors. You have presidents in the club. All of you, for us to drive the right teamwork or make the teams work rightly, there has to be great leadership in place. Again, there's one misconception about leadership generally in this world is leadership is always associated in a kind of a singular sense, because we all love watching movies. Right? Movies, always there's a hero or heroine dominated. But leadership is not focused, central. It's not something, the district director alone cannot be the leader, or that cannot be responsible for the culture of the entire district. Yes, he plays a big role. The division director cannot be just responsible for the division, or the area director. I think leadership has to be a habit. Leadership has to be a process. Leadership has to be all pervasive across the teams that we try to manage. It has to be encouraged, motivated, influenced. We're going to talk about that a lot. So, as leaders, we are all going to be forming various teams for various responsibilities. Can we quickly talk about the different stages of teams when you are forming teams? I'm sure many of us have gone through a lot of corporate training. Wonderful. Someone said forming.
Storming.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Forming, storming, norming, and performing. The author of this philosophy of the management guideline is Mr.
Tommy John.
Mr. Tuckman.
Sorry?
Tuckman.
Bruce Tucker. Okay? Forming, storming, norming, performing. I think, do we know what happens in this 4 different, I'm not going to talk in detail, but we are going to touch upon it and then jump into something else more interesting. What happens during the forming stage? So these are the different stages of a team: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Once the job is done, it's adjourning. Okay. What happens in the forming stage?
People get to know each other.
Sorry.
People get to know each
Yeah,
other.
people get to know. People get to know each other. People get nominated or elected and get to know each other. Get to know each other so very. They introduce themselves very nicely and get to know each other very nicely, even though they may not be very nice in reality. But during the forming stage, I think I cracked a joke just now. And but that's the stage in which people get to know each other. Okay, and you get to know each the roles. You understand what you're expected to do during this forming stage. And what happens during the storming stage? The most important stage of many of the teams, storming. When a common action or a common mission or a common program is expected to be delivered by a team, we start debating the ideas. We come from different backgrounds, different styles, different culture. Our boundaries get pushed. We can see conflicts. We can see acrimonious discussions. You know, something happens at the back, something happens at the front, right? Division conferences, district conferences. Okay? When we do all this combined teamwork, we go through this storming stage a lot. Okay? And statistically it is proven that most of the teams, especially cross-functional teams, do not cross this storming stage. They fail after the storming stage because. And what is the reason? What is the single important, largest factor that makes the storming stage effective? It's again leadership. Not just one person's leadership, the team's leadership, responsibilities of the various role players in a team. If it's not very well handled, you fail to get past the storming stage. Or one guy who's so good, or a few guys who are so good, or a few ladies who are so good get to do everything on behalf of the team. That's what happens. But this is where leadership has to play a great role. Then, once you pass the storming stage, you resolve, you capitalize on the ideas, the norming stage, then you start executing your actions. That is the performing stage. And once it is done, you adjourn. I think definitely this needs to be managed, kept in mind as leaders of various teams, various roles, various responsibilities that you are going to be managing. So having said that, now let's move on. But what is if we have to call the various stages of the team as fibers or pillars of the way of a team formation, what is the one force or one energy that unites all these fibers and make it into a beautiful fabric called teamwork? Leadership. It's leadership. So everything is about leadership. How we lead is so very important on how our teams are going to be effective or functional after this. So having said that, can we have some quick definition or technical definition of leadership that we remember? I think many of us must have come across so many things. Before we start, I'm going to be sharing a few important leadership protocol for practicing leaders. Okay? I heavily rely on Robin Sharma, who was my coach, my mentor, and I'm going to be sharing some of those concepts, not as good as him, or whatever little bit I know. But before that, can we have some quick thoughts about leadership? How would you define leadership? Because some of you looks like you need more coffee. Yes, sir.
I think leadership is about, I would say, helping a group of people, a team, for example,
Wonderful.
achieve and identify
Wonderful, yes. Yeah, that is definitely one of the important aspects of a leadership role, responsibility is helping others. We're trying to make a difference to others. Yes?
I think the important part of leadership and definition of leadership is the chief storyteller. The one who sets the culture by telling the story of why this team exists, why are you there, what is your goal.
Okay. Capitalizing on what you said, the guy who finds the vision and mission for the particular team, the direction, who sets the direction. But yes, one more, and then I'm going to jump. Yes. Because it's an interesting topic on which many people will give. There are so many definitions.
leadership about influencing people.
Leadership is influence. Very simple. John Maxwell said it is John Maxwell's definition. Leadership is nothing but influence. And influence is your ability, very crudely speaking, Influence is the ability to obtain followers effectively, without forcing.
And also to discover the hidden power of the people, the hidden
Latent potential of people. Yes, I think it's all part of it. But if you can, I think many of the, I tend to agree with most of what you said, very much what you said. But do you remember this gentleman, what he talked about leadership? Do you know who he is?
He's a drunkard.
He's so close to us. He's the reason why all of us are here in one particular hall. Mr. Ralph C. Smedley. Mr. Ralph C. Smedley, because of whom we are all sitting here, is the founder of Toastmasters. And okay, he is the founder of Toastmasters. He had one wonderful, all you said was right, but he had one all-encompassing definition for leadership. And it goes like this. It is the ability to look ahead, think ahead, plan ahead, and influence people to go ahead after the plan. Everything that you can possibly think about leadership. Look ahead, think ahead, plan ahead, and influence people to go ahead after the plan. All of them are important, but the most important one is influencing people, in my opinion. That is the greatest job of a leader. Okay? And I also came up with one small definition of leadership. Leadership is always about two always. Very simply, you can easily remember this. It's always about two always. Always stay inspired or be inspired. And always go inspired. It sounds so simple, so easy, but it's very difficult to practice. Okay. With this, I'm going to be talking about the three key protocols. I'm going to be sharing 5 key protocols to be a very good practicing leader. Okay? Again, from the school of Robin Sharma, most of the thoughts. I'm referring various theories, but mainly Robin Sharma. Okay. What is the number one? Try and develop a mindset to lead without effort. I think this concept is quite getting more and more popular now. Leadership is not about having a big office. Leadership is not about having a formal authority. Leadership is not about having a formal position or power. Leadership is a mindset. Leadership is a heart set. Leadership is a way of doing our daily things. It's not just in your office, not just in Toastmasters, not just in community, not just in let's say, in a sport, even in your personal life. Try to practice and think like a leader. How do you do that? I mean, it could be a little abstract. How do you do it in a definite terms? The way you plan your day, the way you interact with people, the way you deal with differences, the way you influence people and make them feel better than they felt when you met them. That is leadership. And some of you said about making a difference. Like that is the mindset to lead without a title. We all can do it. I think every one of us, I think our parents did it. Okay? And look at what he said, Mr. Robin Sharma. If you are a breathing human being, you can be a leader. You not only have the opportunity to be a leader, but you have the responsibility to be a leader. And you cannot be a better leader than the human being or the person that you are. Which means you have to make leadership as a habit. Okay? Once again, going into the protocol number 1, try and develop a mindset to lead without a title. If you looked at those animals crossing the road, they led themselves better. They didn't have formal title. They did not have formal position. I think there was proper leadership there. I think every one of us alive can do that. Every one of us alive can make a difference to at least one person we meet every day. We don't need a title for that. Every one of us alive can go to a job and give the very best, whatever be the job. We could be a housekeeper. Do the very best that we possibly can and make others feel that we are doing a beautiful task. We don't need a title for that. Right? So develop a mindset to lead without a title, number 1. Number 2, very important again, the job of a leader is to develop more leaders. Now, leadership has to be a legacy. Leadership has to be a process continuum. It cannot be stuck at one place. I think that has to be all places. That's very important. And how do you develop more leaders? Like what we are doing now. You have to share. You have to share the methodology, share the models, and share what you know. Okay? Like how do you develop more leaders? For example, in an organization, or if you are leading a football team, celebrate the success of your teammates. Collaborate with your teammates. Give them models for winning habits. Give them model for winning, processes. That is how you develop more. But it is very important for you to be creative. You have to be a visionary. You have to be always efficiency oriented as a leader. But you have to find time to develop more leaders. That is the key responsibility of a leader. And how do you do it at home? How do we develop leaders at home?
Support and encouragement.
Support, wonderful.
Setting a goal.
Great parenting. Introduce your children to nice books, nice habits, nice sports. Okay, take them to youth leadership programs done by the great Toastmasters. Right? We develop leaders. So if you're a leader and if you're not developing the leaders faster than your peers, then you are not a leader. You become a follower. That's very important. Number 3, follow the 3I protocols as a leader in your daily life. What are the 3 I's here I'm talking about? With S's. Inspire, influence, and impact. All 3. Inspire, influence, and impact. Robin Sharma's story. Look at Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi. All these people have been great sources of inspiration. I'm just taking some international names. Let's say in Division M, I think Dr. Sulaiman Al-Mahdi is a great source of inspiration to many young leaders. Okay, on how you become a district director, on how you get to do something by which people remember you by. That is the force behind inspiring people. There is no excuse for a leader without this particular act. You have to inspire people and you have to stay inspired. All of us like this guy, Steve Jobs, right? At least we like the product, his businesses. I think he was not, very quickly talking about a small story about Steve Jobs. How many of you think he was a very nice guy to work with? He was not a good guy, nice guy to work with. He's certainly not a bad guy, but he was not an easy guy to work with. People, I think since he was very demanding, very task-oriented person. But still, if you're going to conduct a poll of let's say Apple employees, they're going to say he's the most inspirational person that we have met. Because inspiration, he drove the organization, he drove the business, he conducted the business through inspiration. I don't know how many of you heard about this little story. When Steve Jobs was a youth, okay, his dad asked him to go and paint the fence of his house. He must have been 16, 17 years old. And Steve, can you go and paint the fence? He went outside. He spent some 2-3 hours, he painted the fence. And Dad comes out. Steve, did you finish it? He says, yes, Dad, I did. It's beautiful, son. You painted the outside, but what about the inside? He asks him. And he says, Dad, who is going to look at the inside? Dad says, we will, son. We will look at it. Now, fast forward 10 years, 15 years later, when Steve was sitting with this development team, they were going to develop the Apple Macintosh computers. I don't know how many of you remember that, one of the first versions. And this is what Steve had to talk to his team of engineers. Guys, team, I don't know what you're going to do. I want the outside of the computer to be so elegant, so smart. But I want the inside of the computer to be so beautiful that it's going to bring tears to your eyes. Engineers are engineers. I'm an engineer. Steve, what's this? We're going to sell a machine. Why do you want the inside? Who is going to look at the inside? Why do you want the inside to be beautiful? Who is going to look at it? He said, we. See, that is inspiration. Strong belief of the quality act you want to produce. The value that you want to provide to your customers, or the audiences, or people who we are interacting with. He's a great source of inspiration for that. We know this guy, but I'm not going to share this. I'm going to jump. Elon Musk. in fact, if I have to call him, he's also a great source of inspiration of the recent era, and I just made up these things. He inspired people towards the achievability of an perceivably impossible value creation. There's a lot of words, okay? But what I'm saying is, none of us thought battery cars will come and start ruling the world, like way they are doing last 10, 15 years ago. None of us thought, space rocketing could be a commercial mission. He made it possible. Okay? That is inspiration. Again, stuck on to quality, his ways of doing things. Next one, influence. We talked about influence already. As a leader, it is so very important to be influencing your people by the ways that you do things. Okay? Influence people with your mindset, again, heart set. The precision of your languaging to deliver your messages very clearly, very strongly. That is so very, all the great leaders did it. The way of their thinking patterns, through your productivities, the way you do your job, like Steve Jobs, okay, for example. Nelson Mandela, for example. Nelson Mandela once said, if you have to inspire greatness in people, what do? And his answer was, you need to exceed people's expectations about what you're going to do. This was his belief. I don't know how many of you watched the movie Invictus? Anyone watched the movie Invictus? No, I strongly recommend it. It's a biopic of Nelson Mandela, but it's a great movie. Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon. Watch this movie. Wonderful. I mean, great movie and great inspiration. I watch nice movies. That is a source of inspiration for me. Okay? So he's an example of influence, Nelson Mandela. Impact. What is impact? Less talk, more do. That's very important. I mean, many people keep saying, I'm going to be writing a book by next year. I'm going to be composing a music album. They keep on talking, sometimes they don't deliver. And it finally loses its impact. Less talk, more do. That's so very important. Doesn't matter whether you have a title. As long as you create an impact, you are a leader. You don't have to be a formal title. You don't have to have a formal title to be a leader. So all these people, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, all of them are great examples of impact, causing impact in global society. I just said 3 names: Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy. Is there any similarity between all 3 of them? Just to check if you are listening. What is the common?
They all assassinated.
Assassinated. They all got assassinated. Because, again, the define impact. And the reason, the necessity to create an impact as a leader is so very important. The extent of the impact that you can create on the world or people around you depends on the size of your commitment to the purpose. John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Malala. They stood so committed to their purpose, they almost lost their lives. I'm not saying to create an impact you have to die. I'm not saying that. I'm not recommending it. I will never. And I won't follow myself, okay? But what is more important is the extent of your commitment to the purpose should be so strong so you can leave an impact as leaders. Now, number 4, we talked about 4 is the quality of the craft. As a leader, you have to be a great craftsperson. As I told you, the way you do things has to bring tears to people's eyes. It's so very important. Do not release anything unless you feel it is really world class or company class or Saudi Aramco class. Don't release your work outside until you are completely going to be satisfied. That is so very important to produce beautiful craft. Don't just look at. There are 2 choices for all of us. If people are employed, we can just choose to look at a job as a job, or we can look at the job as an opportunity for us to create mastery. The moment you start following the second aspect, the quality of your craft is going to improve exponentially, not proportionally. You are going to create your own personal economy. Okay, world can go through ups and there could be volatility cycles. There could be people can get fired. There could be disruptive trends. But if you are going to be so good, marketplace will pay for you. If you're going to be so wonderful, like the Michelangelos or the Celine Dions or Yannis, I'm talking about the musician Yanni, the market, you're not going to be subjected to cycle changes. Make the quality of your craft so good that people cannot choose to reject it. That is a very important. This marketplace pays for mastery. Don't chase income, but impact. These are just examples. And finally, in the leadership protocol concepts, build relationships. It is so very important. We are going through an era, I would say, where there is a gross commoditization of humanization, of humanity. Okay. People, people's idea of building relationship, no, I'm not saying all, mostly, it has become Facebook, most of them. Okay. Okay. People start posting, okay, I'm having a coffee, I'm having a drink, okay, I'm just using the bathroom, I'm just not any distaste for here. You know, people post, you know, they post some funny things and then they want, what do they expect? Likes, right? Yeah, attention, likes. People like to be liked. Okay, but you know, is that a way to build a relationship? To build, I mean, we like doing business, we like dealing with people whom we like. Okay, we have to build, before a person or lends you his or her hand, you need to know to touch the heart. Okay, you know, focus on your relationships. Money will follow. So very important. Building relationship is so vital, so important if you have to become a leader, if you have to be a great practicing leader. So I want to just, this gentleman, I think we all know, again, leadership is, in my opinion, learnership. Mr. Bill Gates is an example. So how many, do you know how many books Mr. Bill Gates reads even today? As the CEO of so many groups. You are very close, yeah? In a year. All of them non-fiction. 50 books. Yeah. He says that transformed him into a great leader. So very quickly to sum up, try and develop a mindset to be lead without a title. And number two, the job of a leader is to develop more leaders. Number three, follow the 3 I practice. What are the 3 I's? And impact. Wonderful. Quality of your craft. Focus on that. Stay obsessed to the quality of your craft. Build relationships. These are all the important leadership protocols. Now, I want to very quickly jump over the next 5 minutes to steps to build successful team. I'm going to be pretty fast here because I want to give, I promised you that I will let you go. First is, I will not read here, focus on the roles. You're all going to be selecting as area directors and different directors, you're going to be selecting your teams, right? Okay, for various roles. What would you look for if in selecting people for performing various roles? What are the important things that will, important virtues that you'll focus on? Wonderful. Commitment? Discipline? Good, great. Hard work? Dedication? More? Determination? Very good. Yes, definitely. More? Okay, talent, skills, experience. I think all of them were very, very important. But the 2 things that I would strongly recommend is, as you said, madam, commitment and attitude. So very important. It's the attitude and commitment that will get, you know, all the other beautiful qualities that someone may have and convert them into a performance. Look for that. Okay? That is, I have some examples, but I'm not going to talk about it. Attitude and commitment, number 1. Second one, value each and every member of the team. Whether it is a football team, whether he is a center forward, or whether he's a halfback, whether he's a fullback, or he's a goalkeeper, everyone is important. Similarly, whether you're the district director or whether the sergeant at arms, every role is so valuable, so important. Okay. Make them feel that they are valuable. The President of India, is the highest authority, diplomatically highest authority in India. Once he met a musician who came from south of India, far away, after a 3 hours flight, when he landed at New Delhi, which is far, it's about 3 hours flight for information. And you know, there are so many protocols, diplomatic protocols for when you have to meet the President of India. If you are on a stage with the President of India, whether it may be a president or a prime minister or any powerful person, he has to be the first person to leave the stage. And you cannot just like that go and shake hands with such authorities. When this humble musician went and landed in New Delhi, in a car. When he was picked up, he goes to the president's palace. And he was all the way, he was being told by other guards of the president, you have to follow this protocol, you have to go like this, turn right, left, all these things. But when the car reached the presidential palace, this musician, he's a very famous musician in India, when he saw outside the car, the gentleman who opened the car door was the president of India, for this musician. His name is Dr. Radhakrishnan, the second president of India. It happened in 1962. And the musician, when he came out, he was almost shivering in Mr. President, Mr. High, Your Excellency, you don't have to do this. You didn't have to do this. Do you know what he said, the president? Mr. Arunachal was his name. Okay. If you want, you can enter politics and become a president of the country. But I can never become the beautiful musician that you have been. The gifts that you provided in this way. So the point is, he made him feel so valuable. This is the picture. The person who is holding the plate is the musician. I'm just for you to show some credibility. I'm not making that. This actually happened. This was the second president of India, Dr. Radhakrishnan. This was the chief minister of the state. The gentleman who is holding the plate happens to be my mom's dad. That's why I'm just telling you this. That he left so much of impact. This particular thing which happened a few years back. Other important thing as a team leader, communicate and communicate rightly. Okay, I'm not going to talk about communication, where we have communication experts. What is communicate rightly? Now, listening is so very important. So as leaders, sometimes we fail to listen. We never know where a beautiful idea is going to come up from. We need to listen to people. And by listening to your people, to everyone, as a leader, you should be the last person to talk. Okay, you need to listen more and talk less. Right? If it's possible, it's difficult to practice. Right now, only I am talking, you are not talking. So you have to try and follow that practice. Very important. By doing that, you get the benefit of some wonderful ideas. And number two, you are making every person feel that if when he is heard, he is contributing. That's a beautiful way of leading people. Goal setting is so important. I think you are very clear. Accountability, execution, measurement, and tracking is going to guide all this. The DCPs, the various, I think Toastmaster Jamila was making a wonderful presentation on what you need to do as leaders. I think we may have wonderful teams, but you need to, every action has to be measured, controlled, and goal-oriented. So very important. Okay? Because sometimes we talk, but we don't execute. Execution, ideation without execution is delusion. It doesn't help anyone. So it has to be goal-oriented. All the team members' action. Now, I'm just sharing a simple thought. This is a sage technique. You become, many of us, when we become leaders, we take it as a matter of entitlement. I am the area director. I am the division director. I'm not saying division M, okay? Generally, I'm just saying it, okay? Don't get me wrong. But you become only when you do. You do to become. And you change to progress. And you sacrifice to succeed. Even if when you reverse them, it is going to. It's a guideline all leaders have to follow. The second last one, celebrate success and failures. Embrace, empathize, and encourage the self-worth of every individual in your team, whether be it the success or failures. When you're going to recognize and improve the self-worth of every individual, his performance is not just going to be proportional to that. It's going to be maybe exponential. You understand that? Proportional and exponential. So value everyone's contribution. And finally, Toastmasters has taught us, promote camaraderie. Okay, you may be leading a club, you may be leading a division, you may be leading an area, you may be leading a football team or whatever. And finally, we are leading families. We are leading families. Every member is so very important. Make work as fun, yet challenging. Make the task, the task can be demanding, but they have to be adventurous. The goals have to be very demanding, but they have to be enjoyable when they are played. Make workplace, your teamwork as fun. So very important. Promote camaraderie. I think I would like to sum up there. And if there are any questions, with the permission of Division Director, maybe I can take 2 questions. Finally, I want to be a good human being, and I want to thank my mentor, my coach. If anything that I delivered was good, he's the way he was responsible. Anything that's not good, it's mine.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you very much for the interesting presentation. My question is this, because I've been reading about leadership. There is an interesting,
I would say, debate that some people say leaders are born to be leaders, and some people say that leaders can learn, people can learn to be leaders. What I see from your presentation is that we can learn to be leaders. But don't you think that is, I would say, a minor factor that is related to personality or, something that is in us already, that I would say sparks the leadership behavior?
Wonderful question, and I like this question. First of all, I think there were two parts to your question. Whether leaders, if I have to sum up your question, can I say you want to clarify whether these 100% leaders are born or leaders can be made, or the small inborn advantages give them an advantage until the end? I think that is a kind of question. I would predominantly disagree with that. Allow me to disagree. I think every one of us, as I told you, every one of us, if you remember, learn to lead without, develop the mindset to lead without a title. What does it mean? Every one of us can be a leader with the way we do things. Okay? It is. There are so many ways. It is going to be practice. Practice breeds performance. If you want to bleed less in war, sweat more in training. You heard this? So you want to develop the leadership traits in you, the habits in you, the processes in you, practice. Okay? There is one thing that comes to my mind. Some people say leaders are born geniuses. And again, Robert Sharma says about genius. Geniality does not come to you by birth or by blessing. The genius players achieve geniality by exploiting the single biggest talent that they have and work extra time on them every day. Run the extra miles that you have to. If you think you are not good at something, you will reach them. Leadership is for everyone. That's what I'm saying. Yes, sir.
So with reference to the question just posted, I think the change that we are talking about may not be a big change. It may be a small thing. Just for our own common reference, this room was cold, so I saw a gentleman, he opened this door. So this could be a small change that can bring him in this small room. So this can be small things that everybody can practice.
So that is leadership.
Yeah.
Don't you agree with me? That is leadership. It's very important. I think that is leadership at home. I don't know how many of you watched the movie The Blind Side. Okay, please watch them again. I'm a movie buff. Okay, it's about, I think, Sandra Bullock's movie about a disabled child. Wonderful movie. The mom at home is the hero. Even though it's a silent hero, she shows all the leadership. Changes are always hard at the beginning and messy in the middle, but they are going to be beautiful at the end when you are going to see the benefit. Thank you so much.